This is Block 10, the 1960s, Section 2, Black Power, with the section Black Successes and Problems. Like much of the 1960s, it's the rioters that make the news. You know, the nightly news always leads with the riots and the burnings and the arsons and the assassinations and the Malcolm X's and the Elijah Muhammads and the Stokely Carmichaels. But while all of this was kind of bubbling on America's television screens, tens and then hundreds of thousands and then millions of other blacks made their way into American society. Northern cities began electing black mayors and black city councils. Southern states, now that blacks had the right to vote, elected hundreds of black office holders. More schools were integrated in the South than in the North, where blacks and whites lived around each other. Black poverty, which had always been much higher than white poverty. Black poverty for a two-parent household where both parents held high school degrees was the same as white poverty in the same situation. With marriage and with educational achievement, blacks and whites had the same low level of poverty. Just like whites were, fleeing out of the cities to avoid all the problems that started to happen in American cities, so were countless thousands of blacks. Countless thousands of blacks left the urban ghettos for the suburbs themselves just as fast as they could, and joined the ranks of that vast American middle class. Started to intermarry more than ever before. Started to just exist in middle class mainstream America, like most of them had just always wanted, an opportunity, a chance to live out their dreams as best they could. By 1972, a third of blacks could be considered middle class, a third working class, and a third were poor. Now that was higher than a percentage of whites that were poor, but if you looked at the growth of the black working class and the black middle class in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, you saw incredible gains. But while middle-class blacks in the suburbs were kind of becoming mainstream Americans, problems in the inner cities began to get worse and worse. Social policies, political policies, economic policies were beginning to tug the black family apart. In 1970, nearly 30% of American blacks were born to unmarried mothers, and that number is 72% in 2012. And just the statistics say that people of any race born to unmarried mothers have much higher rates of dropout, lower educational achievement, higher incidences of drug abuse and alcohol abuse and suicide and doing poorly in school and not graduating, etc., etc., etc. And these are going to be things that come up in blocks 11 and 12. So on one hand, you have this incredible amount of black success economically, but you also, on the other hand, have this kind of unraveling of the black family, which had been the only thing, that was holding black America together during the reign of segregation and outright racism. Once the outright racism and segregation was gone, that glue that held black communities together, the family and the church, those things started to unravel. And we are all familiar with the consequences of modern American inner city ghettos. That doesn't escape any of us. So there's a lot of success, long-term success after the Civil Rights Movement. There's a lot of long-term problems after the Civil Rights Movement. And obviously in 2013 the United States still deals with our very peculiar issue of race in many different peculiar ways. It's kind of who we are, and I don't think we're ever going to escape that part of American culture.